On a September night in 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving home after a vacation in Niagara Falls and Montreal. They hadn't seen a car for miles, and a strange light in the sky seemed to follow them. What happened next would become infamous amongst ufologists. Betty and Barney Hill were your normal, everyday type of people who went by in life the same as anyone else. Barney was employed by the United States Postal Service, while Betty was a social worker. The Hills were also members of the NAACP and community leaders, and Barney sat on the local board of the United States Commission on Civil Rights. Betty had an interest in UFOs, but had little knowledge about the subject, and Barney was an outright skeptic. Their alleged UFO sighting happened about 10:30 p.m. on the 19th of September 1961. While driving just south of Lancaster, New Hampshire, Betty claimed to have observed a bright point of light in the sky that moved from below the moon and the planet Jupiter upwards to the west of the moon. While Barney navigated US Route 3, Betty reasoned that she was observing a falling star, only it moved upwards. Because it moved erratically and grew bigger and brighter, Betty urged Barney to stop the car for a closer look, as well as to walk their dog Deasley. Barney stopped at a scenic picnic area just south of Twin Mountains. To get a better look, Betty took the binoculars out of the car and trained them on the odd light. She observed an odd-shaped craft flashing multicoloured lights. Because this light moved up and down, she quickly ruled out that what she was seeing wasn't a falling star, but a UFO. Betty told Barney that she thought what they were seeing was a UFO, but Barney replied, "Don't be ridiculous." He took the binoculars and reasoned that the light was a commercial airliner travelling towards Vermont on its way to Montreal. However, he soon changed his mind, because without looking as if it had turned, the craft rapidly descended in his direction. This observation caused Barney to realise this object was not a plane. They got back into the car and continued driving on the isolated road, moving slowly through Franconia Notch to observe the object as it came even closer. Numerous times Betty would say to Barney, "Now do you believe in UFOs?" But Barney refused to believe that what he saw was anything other than a plane. Betty later testified that it was at least 40 feet long and that it seemed to be rotating. The couple watched as the silent, illuminated craft moved erratically and bounced back and forth in the night sky. Movement Barney knew that no aircraft was capable of. About 1 mile south of Indian Head, they said the object rapidly descended towards their vehicle, causing Barney to stop in the middle of the highway. The huge, silent craft hovered about 80 to 100 feet above the Hills' 1957 car and filled the entire field of view in the windscreen. They heard a buzzing which caused the car to vibrate and a tingling sensation in their bodies. The next thing they remember was that the UFO had gone and they were further down the road. When they finally got home to Portsmouth at dawn, they felt dirty and shaky, something they couldn't readily explain. Barney's shoes were strangely scuffed and Betty's dress was ripped and the leather strap of the binoculars was snapped. 2 hours of the drive was missing and neither one of them could remember what had happened during that time. They tried to reconstruct the chronology of events as they witnessed the UFO and drove home, but immediately after hearing the buzzing sound, their memories became incomplete and fragmented. The morning after, Betty noticed there were shiny circles on the car's trunk that had not been there the previous day. Betty rushed into the house and informed Barney, who got mad and told Betty to stop being ridiculous. She took a compass from the drawer in the kitchen and passed it over the spots on the car, noting that when she moved it close to the spots, the needle would spin rapidly, but when she moved it a few inches away from the shining spots, the spinning would stop. The Hills went about their normal daily life, and in the coming years, with Betty suffering from disturbing dreams and Barney developing an ulcer and anxiety, the couple sought mental help. The two met with Benjamin Simon, a psychiatrist and a neurologist who specialised in hypnosis, a mainstream technique at the time. Under hypnosis, both Betty and Barney recounted similar tales of being taken on board a spacecraft where they were examined on. Barney reported using the binoculars to get a closer look and claimed to have seen 8 to 11 humanoid figures who were peering out of the craft's windows, seemingly to look at him. In unison, all but one figure moved to what appeared to be a panel on the rear wall of the hallway that encircled the front portion of the craft. The one remaining figure continued to look at Barney and communicated a message telling him to stay where you are and keep looking. Barney had a recollection of observing the humanoid forms wearing glossy black uniforms and black caps. He recounted that the binocular strap had broken when he ran from the UFO back to his car, screaming that they were going to capture us. He recalled driving the car away from the UFO, but afterwards he felt irresistibly compelled to pull off the road and drive into the woods. He then sighted 6 grey beings standing on the dirt road. The car stalled and 3 of the beings approached the car. They told Barney not to fear them. He was still anxious, however, and he reported that the leader told Barney to close his eyes. While hypnotised, Barney said, "I felt like the eyes had pushed into my eyes." Under hypnosis, Barney said things like, "Oh, those eyes, they're there in my brain," and "I was told to close my eyes because I saw 2 eyes coming close to mine, and I felt like the eyes had pushed into my eyes, and all I see are these eyes. I'm not even afraid that they're not connected to a body. They're just there. They're just up close to me, pressing against my eyes." Grey beings walked them up a long ramp and into the spacecraft, and once inside, the Hills were separated and taken to separate examination rooms that had curved walls and a light hanging from the ceiling. Each was asked to climb onto a metal table. The table was so short, Barney's legs hung over the side. During the examination, the beings removed Betty and Barney's clothes, plucked strands of their hair, took clippings of their nails, and scraped their skin. Each sample was placed in a clear material, not unlike a glass slide. Needles connected to long wires probed their heads, arms, legs, and spines. Betty terrifyingly recounted of a large needle, around 4 to 6 inches long, that was inserted into her navel. This pregnancy test caused her great pain, and the examiner passed its hand over her face, and the pain went away. While Betty reported a conversation with the leader in English, Barney said that he heard them speaking in a mumbling language that he did not understand. Betty also mentioned this detail. The few times they communicated with Barney, he said it seemed to be through thought transference. At that time, he was unfamiliar with the word telepathy. After Betty's examination ended, she was alone with the leader and asked where he had come from. The leader took out a map from a panel in the wall and asked if she knew where the Earth was. Betty admitted she knew very little of the universe, and the leader replied, "If you don't know where you are, there wouldn't be any point in telling you where I'm from." Later, under hypnosis, she drew the star map shown to her on the ship. The beings excitedly rushed back into her room and the leader revealed to Betty that they had discovered that Barney's teeth could be removed. Betty laughed, explaining that Barney had dentures, a fact of human aging, but the beings struggled to understand. Betty took an interest in a book which was filled with a strange writing and asked if she could keep it as proof. The leader at first agreed, but took it back when the other beings objected. Betty was then told that she and Barney would be made to forget their abduction. They were then taken back to their car, and the beings left as suddenly as they had appeared. After their hypnosis sessions ended, the Hills went back to their regular lives. They were willing to discuss the alleged UFO encounter with close family and friends. Though wishing to live a private life, their story found its way to the press. On the 25th of October 1965, a front-page story in the Boston Traveller read, "UFO Chiller, Did They Seize Couple?" Their abduction story would snowball and bring their case to international attention. In 1966, writer John G. Fuller secured the cooperation of the Hills and wrote the book The Interrupted Journey about the case. The book included a copy of Betty's sketch of the star map, which, after experts studied thousands of vantage points over several years, concluded that the map seemed to match the viewpoint of the double star system Zeta Reticuli, a star about 39 light years from Earth. Barney died on the 25th of February 1969 at the age of just 46, after which Betty went on to become a celebrity in the UFO community and died of cancer on the 17th of October 2004 at the age of 85. Skeptics offer other explanations to the abduction, with Jim MacDonald, a resident of the area of the alleged abduction, has produced a detailed analysis of their journey, which concludes that the episode was provoked by their misperceiving of an aircraft warning beacon on Cannon Mountain as a UFO. MacDonald notes that from the road the Hills took, the beacon appears and disappears at the same time the Hills describe the UFO as appearing and disappearing. The remainder of the experience is ascribed to stress, sleep deprivation and false memories recovered under hypnosis. The Hills abduction will likely be hotly debated for many years, and it has been portrayed in many books and movies. But the validity of the case comes down to one question: do you believe?